A mysterious death inside this Connecticut home leaves a community stunned.
In 26 years, I have never seen a case like this.
A wife found dead, and cops say it may not be an accident.
Somebody caused this homicide.
Inside, they find the body of Sandra Kalosky. Her death is ruled a homicide.
They classified it as a homicide with blunt trauma.
According to the medical examiner, the 56-year-old wife and stepmother died from blunt injuries to the head and upper extremities. Bill Griffin is a retired Connecticut state trooper.
Blunt trauma and blunt force trauma. It's the difference between falling down the stairs and being beaten to death with a hammer.
Correct.
Well, homicide is death at the hands of another human being.
Yeah. Somebody caused this homicide.
No arrests have been made. No suspects or persons of interest named. Police say the case remains under investigation and there is no threat to the public. But so far, that's all they've said about the mysterious death of Sandra Kalosky.
It's very strange. There's been almost no news, no information out there as to how this woman died, why she died.
Suspicious deaths are very rare in East Hannah, but interestingly enough, the most mysterious one that's remembered here occurred nearly 19 years to the day from when Sandy was found dead. February 1999, Paula Kalosky is found shot to death in her bed, in the same home where Sandra died. Coincidence?
Okay, is there a gun in the area, or is she bleeding? Take a deep breath, okay? Calm down. What's your name?
Both women were married to Robert Kalosky at the time of their deaths. 19 years ago, Paula's husband Robert was the one who called 911 after making the gruesome discovery in their bedroom.
Okay, Bob, tell me what's going on. Calm down. Listen, breathe in your nose and out your mouth.
How did you hear your sister had died?
I got a call from the state police. They said, there's a problem with your sister. You have to come immediately.
Growing up, John Carbo says he and Paula were inseparable siblings.
We acted, in a sense, like twins. And she was my best friend.
The two never went more than a couple days without talking.
My sister wanted to bring a sense of style, a sense of class, and a sense of dignity to everything she did.
John says Paula, who is a hard-working go-getter, met Robert, who was getting divorced in her early 20s.
How did she meet this Robert Kalosky?
She was working at Aetna, and she was beginning to enter middle management. And Bob Kalosky was working as a person who would fill up the vending machines. So they struck up a relationship. And at that time, he told her that his name was Bob Cornish. And he told her that he graduated with a degree in music, but couldn't find a degree teaching. Later, we found out all of that was a lie.
The two eventually married. But now on a cold Connecticut morning, after racing to her home, John was told his sister had taken her own life.
The scene was something like out of a movie. It was surrealistic.
John, who is a marriage and family therapist, says he was alarmed by Robert's behavior.
And that was probably one of the most frightening things I've ever seen.
He says his brother-in-law was walking around in a bathrobe, dazed and confused.
He was moaning, he was making sounds almost like an animal.
Based upon your training as a therapist, somebody very familiar with psychology, what do you think was going on with him?
He had an acute trauma. I mean, he was like a soldier who had gone into battle.
Robert Kalosky claims on the morning he found his wife dead, he woke up around 7 o'clock, made coffee, and went out to run errands.
He goes to the bank and he withdraws $6,000 from savings to checking. And he goes to the gas station, and of course he has all his receipts.
When he returned, he says he heard what he thought was his wife snoring. After a while, he went to check on her and found her shot to death in the bed. John says from the moment he walked into his sister's house, he pleaded with cops, insisting there was no way she would have killed herself. His pleas fell on deaf ears.
Mr. Kalosky had told the police that my sister was depressed because my mother had passed away 5 months earlier.
John says he and his sister were both sad about their mother's passing, but her death wasn't a shock. She had long battled cancer.
You knew it was coming.
Yes, we knew it was coming. No one wants their family members to be in pain. No one wants that.
Even Robert said she'd never mentioned suicide before. But none of that seemed to matter to detectives. They'd already made their determination.
There was a narrative taking place that my sister was depressed and this is why she did it. This narrative took hold and it just had a life of its own.
John says there was plenty of evidence to suggest his sister wasn't suicidal and had everything to live for.
A week before this event happened, my sister was fitted for a cap and gown. She was going to be graduating from college at the University of Hartford with honors in a degree in business.
Also, just 2 weeks earlier, she'd received a big bonus at work. And John says Paula was a proud mom who had a great relationship with her 9-year-old son.
The afternoon before she passes away, she went to the dentist to have her teeth cleaned. Now, these are not the actions of somebody who's contemplating suicide.
You're a therapist.
Yes, it's just impossible.
It's not just John's professional opinion that his sister wasn't suicidal.
We actually hired from Dartmouth an expert on suicide, and he analyzed all of the facts of Paula Kalosky's life, and he concluded she had no risk factors for suicide.
So if Paula Kalosky didn't kill herself, then how did she end up with a bullet in her head? Up next, evidence uncovered by John Carbo gets his sister's cause of death officially changed.
There's no way that blood could have gotten there.
And shocking family secrets that may point to a motive for murder.
He has a secret life, and I'd like to know what his secret life is.
The reason why he concluded that it was a suicide was really based upon the police report that was provided to him.